and welcome back to Reality with Reality Hub. We've just had Mel Unstead in the studio, and what a pleasure it was. She has an exclusive practice as a mindset and life strategy coach.
Yeah, she works to give people the cheat codes in life that help you get ahead and work on a faster track to progress in your life.
Ah, cheat codes. I like that. It was great spending time with her and learning about life coaching and what it's all about. Enjoy the show.
I'm not an expert.
So you just learned about bees.
Yeah, I've got a friend she's got a hive.
Okay.
Oh, cool.
But I didn't know this, that bees, I've seen this in social media and on Facebook, and all the environmentalists say that bees are the most important species, living creature on the planet.
Yeah.
I don't know why that is, but I do know.
I can help with that. So it's to do with pollen.
Yeah.
And the movement of pollen and basically germination and all of that.
Yeah,
so,
fascinating creatures.
They're dying, which is a massive problem for us. But yes, there's a...
It says to me everything is interconnected. And so
like
with
the circle of life.
This, yeah. The circle of life. But the thing with bees is I didn't realize that they have a 30-day kind of lifespan. And
I thought you were going to say money back guarantee.
Funnily enough, that's where I thought you were going as well.
But we talk about this whole, what we were talking about, the innate programming of a bee. Their sole mission is to pollinate and to take care of the queen bee. And the queen bee can last up to 5 years. And she got all thousands of these bees with all these different roles.
All serving one queen bee.
Yes, it's true.
Gosh, that sounds fabulous.
It's so I'm coming
Come
back.
on, my minions.
I'm coming back as a queen bee. That's what I came.
Although, aren't you pregnant all of the time?
Well, I learned this also, which is kind of fascinating. That the bee, she's got a. Don't want to use the S word, but the queen bee.
The S word. Oh.
She mates with...
Not on this podcast.
Well, not on this podcast.
No.
She mates with multiple
use that type
bees,
of language.
right?
Yeah.
And they all die because something happens.
Yeah.
But she has.
Well, they're only there for one purpose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm not an expert, so I just learned these basic things, but I just find them really fascinating.
It's really interesting.
Because I love honey. I love Manuka honey, and
that stuff is expensive.
Very expensive. But
I just want to say,
but you realise why?
Expensive.
Because of the process and what it takes to create this.
It.
And yeah.
So welcome to the show, Mel.
Yeah, welcome to the show, Mel.
Thanks for having me.
No, you're welcome.
Very exciting.
We heard a lot about you last week with Marwin.
Oh yes, that was very flattering.
We were very lucky to get you on the show. So thanks for turning up.
Oh, my pleasure.
Do you want to tell us a little bit about what you do?
That is a broad question. So, in a nutshell, I probably wear two hats. I work for Southern Cross Health Society as a leadership capability partner. And essentially what I do there is look after the leadership development programs, and I coach leaders within Southern Cross. And that's one of my passion fields, and that's what my day job looks like, which is great because I get to coach, I get to facilitate, and I just get to be with people a lot of the time. And
that's
then
nice.
It's really cool. It's really cool. And secondary to that, I have my own business doing the closest example I can give is sort of life coaching, but it's probably more on the strategy side of things. So life coach, generally what they'll do is they'll answer your questions to uncover your own knowledge and what strategies you already have, what you've tried, and then questions to unlock your potential, I think is the general standard coachy words. And so what I do, though, is I use practical strategies and experience to move people forward and whatever they're stuck. So I'll use a combination of both strategies that I know have worked, and I offer them up, some more practical strategies, as well as coaching to understand what's the challenge that this person is facing and how do we move them forward. So it's pretty pretty awesome work as well.
So I had this thought come to mind, almost like a mind mechanic.
I like that.
Where you sort of delve into the person's mind, what they're thinking, how they're structuring their behavior.
Yeah.
And then you sort of tinker around in there and figure out and adjust.
Yeah.
And help them overcome the challenge or the problem that they present to you.
Yeah, I think if we think about sort of tinkering around and adjust, that's not the role necessarily I'm playing. It's more, I like that concept of mechanic. You're diagnosing what's the challenge, or, you know, I don't like to look at it as a problem. I think people come up against challenges and often need to bounce their thinking around with someone else.
Yeah.
And, you know, we know the power of when you've had a really great conversation with someone and they've just sat there and listened to you.
Yeah.
And they've asked questions because they're deeply listening to what you're saying. And there's multiple levels of listening as well, as we know. You know, there's that surface level listening where you're waiting to respond. You're like, your brain is actually going, I can't wait to respond to this. I've got a perfect answer for this. This is great. I want to answer this. Oh my gosh, can they please stop talking so I can please answer? So there's that kind of listening. And then there's that real deep listening where you're really fully present to the person in front of you. There's nothing else. It's almost like your brain has closed and there's nothing else in that space. It's just this person in front of you. And if you cultivate that skill, what you can hear from a person is just incredible. And then just using simple questions, you know, I think a lot of people get worried about, well, what kind of questions should I ask? If you're using simple questions and with deep curiosity, it's really powerful. And then lay that with some experience and some humor. It's really great.
Marwin said that seeing you was like getting cheat codes in a game of life.
Oh, I love that, man.
Yeah. So obviously,
fantastic.
Don't tell us about Marwin, but what sort of cheat codes might a person feel they've gained after time spent with you?
Yeah, I'm going to steal that. I love that too. Cheat codes. So there's probably a whole bunch. So there's some of the areas that I tend to work in. Probably at the moment, what's coming into my world is a lot around relationships. You know, I've been I've been wanting to be in a relationship. I'm thinking about going on Tinder. I want to find someone. I've been having these challenges. I just can't seem to meet the right person. It doesn't seem to work because there's something wrong with me. You know, that's a little bit of what's coming into my world. Coming
mostly from men or women?
Mostly, actually both.
Men and women.
Men and women. How do I navigate the world of Tinder now that when I got married, Tinder wasn't around, and this is them saying
they're at round 2.
Yeah, they're round 2.
All right.
How do I navigate this new world? What strategies? What am I looking for? And so some of the cheat codes I might give there is around, well, first of all, understanding, do you know what your love language is? Do you know what you're actually looking for? And it's okay. Whatever you're looking for, be upfront about it. Be honest.
Love language is different from attachment style, isn't it?
The love language is different from attachment styles.
Can we come back to that in a second, though?
Yes.
Before we get to that, there's a couple of groundwork questions I need to make sure we've covered off.
Yes.
And one is giving a clear differentiation between counselling, coaching, and mentoring.
Oh, yeah.
If you could sum it up.
We did talk about that, didn't we? So counselling is, the way I view it, and it's just my view of the world, is counselling is, if the person is in front of me right now, you've had a whole lot of experiences, thought processes, everything that's happened to you to bring you to where you are now. And so counselling, I look at it as a unpacking and understanding the past to help you move you forward. Counsellors will give you strategies to move you forward, but you're really focused on what's happened in the past to bring you to where you are now. Coaching is, you are here right now. We will touch a little bit on the past, but the main focus is we're going to be moving you forward. So we create strategies and questions, answers to move you forward with a specific goal in mind. And what was it? Was it
Mentoring.
Thank you. Mentoring is coming along to someone and saying, I have already been on this journey. I have this experience and knowledge, and I'm going to be sharing with you. And so a coach doesn't need to have any previous knowledge or experience. So if you think of it as a pure coaching, just a coach, they don't need to have knowledge and experience on the challenge that you're bringing, because they're using techniques to move the person forward. And actually, often or not, it's better to have less knowledge of the situation than to be able to effectively coach and move them forward.
Why is that?
Because what happens is that, say, for instance, I'm working with a client and the client's focused on the problem. You know, I kind of imagine it as like the problem is sitting between the two of us. It's on the table in front of us. So the client puts the problem on the table and they'll explain the problem and the context around it and how they've come to it. So the client is looking at the problem. They're mulling it over. They would have already been mulling it over for some time before they've come to me. Now, my role as a coach is to move the person forward, not to dive into the problem. I might touch on the problem to understand so that I can ask effective questions. But if I then dive into the problem myself,
you're getting into the weeds, aren't you?
In the problem.
Yeah.
And we're trying to problem solve the problem. That's not my role as a coach. My role is to look at the person in front of me and go, well, they're looking at the problem. So how do we help them to move themselves forward through effective questioning and essentially listening and questioning is the core skills of a coach, a good coach.
Because when I had heard that a mentor is often better off, is it mentoring and coaching where they're often better off not knowing the details of the problem? So
coaching, you don't need to know the details of. I mean, you need to know.
Counselling, you would.
Counselling.
And for the sake of simplicity, we'll probably put all forms of highly trained psychotherapy in there too, right? And
correct.
With no disrespect to any psychiatrists or psychotherapists listening right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, the profession's incredible.
Yeah. But coaching, you would need not to know. You wouldn't need to know.
You don't need to be a subject matter expert. So let me give you an example. One of you share a challenge. Could be anything, absolutely anything.
Should we come up with an example?
Come up with a challenge.
Just come up with a challenge, an example. Absolutely anything.
To do with anything?
Anything at all.
I'm still in love with my ex-girlfriend.
Okay, great.
And I'm thinking that I can't kind of get over her.
All right. Okay.
Bro, I didn't think this was about getting free treatment.
This doesn't apply to me right now.
I'm just asking for a friend. Just asking for a friend.
No, but I realize that relationships.
No, that's a really good one.
Are you a kind of wheelhouse or
speciality? Yeah, they are.
And I'm just curious.
It's a good question. Yeah.
Okay, great. Okay, so if we were to work together, if we've got 5 minutes. In this 5 minutes, what outcome would you like? What goal would you like?
Well, my friends are saying you should move on. Mm-hmm. She wasn't good enough.
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of making this up.
That's
but
okay.
Also
this is going to be harder.
Is this sounding realistic?
A little bit of experience.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's such a complex, and obviously everyone's situation would be different. But I think people can relate to having that scenario, and like they know that they need to move on, but they're struggling to sort of do that, to let go, I suppose.
Okay.
Because there maybe they're missing what their relationship offered. Maybe they touched on, the reason why they went into that relationship. They got what they needed, and then that's no longer there. So, I don't know, I'm just sort of...
All right, trouble disconnecting because it was very fulfilling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So, so if we were to say, for instance, we had 5 minutes to do coaching, what outcome would you like in this scenario?
I suppose a sense of closure and moving on.
Okay.
Yeah. Knowing that that's kind of the outcome, the end goal.
Okay.
Even though that, I mean, depending on how much processing everyone navigates this in a different way. Some people just jump to another relationship, or some people distract themselves and go down that path. Some people just close off, maybe. So I guess you would have to know where that person
I would
was
need
at.
to know. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna pause you there for a second, and I'll use this as an example. So, for instance, you've sat in front of me, hypothetical scenario, but you've sat in front of me and you said to me, "Okay, I was in this relationship. I'm really struggling to move on from this relationship, and in the time we have together, it'd be really great if I could." Feel that I've moved on or move on from it.
Yeah.
And so as a coach, we would look at this from two angles. So I'd look at really refining the goal, because if I said to you, okay, well, in 5 minutes, 10 minutes, I can get you to move on. Yes and no, but it's unlikely in the time that we would have. It may be because I don't have the broader context yet. But what I'm trying to do is trying to get a sense of what is it that you would want from coaching. So we get a real clear goal and we work together on that.
Yeah.
Once you've run the sort of the context of the challenge.
Yeah.
But I don't personally need to have had a situation where I couldn't get over someone to be able to move you forward. I don't need to have a same-sex relationship if it was same-sex or, a topic. I don't need to have had your same experiences as a coach to move you forward. However, as a mentor, if I was coming in as a mentor and mentoring you in how to get over a relationship where you've been stuck for whatever reasons, and you're kind of stuck in the relationship or sort of the memory of the relationship, and actually it's mostly probably down to an attachment style, or it could be down to the fact that your needs were really being met, or you had an image of this person, what the future would look like, that wasn't necessarily reality. And so there's lots of different components. And again, I'm not a counselor, so I'd have to be really careful about that.
In that kind of example, when we talk about a mentor, like a business mentor, then they're mentoring and have such experience in the processes and things that you've done that they know exactly how these things work, right?
Correct, usually.
So if you're having... I'm going to use a silly example just for fun.
Go for it.
But say Rob went to a mentor instead of a coach about this issue. The mentor would actually need to know a lot about that scenario, right? That kind of thing that happens all the time. But Rob's not seeing a business mentor where he needs to learn an SAP program or a payments processing function in a system. Because Rob's pretend, his pretend ex in this scenario, we'll call her Sandra. This would be a Sandra mentor, someone who is very experienced with Sandra, right? Because that's the kind of thing that a mentor means, someone that's very experienced with that subject matter.
Yes, correct. So not necessarily Sandra, but they've had experience in not being able to move on from relationships. They've probably got
crazy girlfriend mentor.
Or potentially. Yeah. I mean, crazy's not nice, but
no,
yes.
I know. I hope people are laughing. They're supposed to. We're supposed to be chill.
So... I don't know if that's really answered the question, but
but you really, you raised something really interesting. I've heard before that that a person doesn't necessarily need to know the subject matter to be a superb coach, and one of the reasons was because you would get stuck inside the framework of the problem, that you couldn't think outside that framework. In other words, you couldn't think outside the box. Yeah. So if you approach your problems from the point of view of these are the rules of the game, and you try to solve it within those rules, you can't think outside that game. Yeah. You can't think, well, just abandon that game, do another game. Couldn't do that. Oh, look, I could. Yeah. And only a person who doesn't know the rules can think outside those scenarios, right? Because they have more freedom before they get entrenched in it.
Yeah, and I think you've hit on a valid point in the fact that, if we think about earlier that scenario, if the person's put the problem in front of you, if you're both diving into the problem, trying to solve the problem, it does stimulate creativity. It does stimulate the ability to, it's just two people looking at the same problem instead of one person being focused on the problem, the other person going, actually, I'm lifted out of the problem and I'm looking at this person in front of me and going, how can we move? What's going on for this person? And again, it's multiple levels. What's their emotional what's their emotional need in the situation? What is their physical need in the situation? What beliefs do they have about the situation? What external challenges are they facing in the environment related to the situation? How do we, and the only way that you can understand those things is to come at it with curiosity and ask questions, because you can't make assumptions. And I think that's the biggest challenge with coaching is trying not to be the problem solver. And that was probably my biggest challenge when I moved from being an expert problem solver. I'd come from an event management background. I was an executive assistant for a good part of my career. So my role was to solve problems and to GSD, which is get shizzle done, and
Get shizzle done.
So
I love it. That's good.
Then deciding to change careers from being an EA into development, and particularly leadership development, you have to change the whole way that you think and the way that you operate, and to let go, to be able to allow other people to come up with the answers and not be the one who's always providing answers.
Because when you get
challenging.
many people or many brains together, you have a whole bunch of different ideas and perspectives, and you can brainstorm better than if you're just on your own.
There's a great book called Wisdom of the Crowd, and again, I'm awful with authors, but Wisdom of the Crowd is essentially what you're talking about. You can, the best way to get the most creative and the variety of ideas is to get a whole diverse range of people in a room together. Because and it's really simple. I mean, one person has one perspective. Yeah. And so unless but also, if you've got to get a whole bunch of people in a room with lots of ideas, but you've also got to give them a psychological safety to share ideas. Those, we naturally have herd mentality. And so there is a need to get individual thought first before you then get the group think.
Right.
So because it's a balance.
Because you might have this wild idea and thought, but if you're in that group, you may not want to share it.
Correct.
For fear of being
ridiculed.
That guy doesn't know what he's talking about. Yeah. Crazy. Or, even though organically and naturally that could be a really amazing,
absolutely
out of the sort of box kind of thought. Going,
So what are the main things people come to you for? Because when we caught up last, we had three things, if I recall, and they were relationships with three particular kinds of relationships, right?
So in the relationship front, so the key things that I tend to do coaching in is so relationships. I do a little bit of career, but actually I've got a friend who's an incredible career coach, so I tend to direct them to her. And money management. What's your relationship with money? How do you manage money? Some
relationships with money.
Relationships.
Career.
Yes.
But you like to refer that one out.
Yes, correct. And, health, your general family. There's a variety of things. I think there's just different
Is relationship
areas of
with health relationship with bad habits?
Yes.
Right.
Yes. And sometimes
So again, you don't need to be a cardiac surgeon to be able to do that one.
No. No. I think you're just having a fundamental curiosity about what it is that this person is doing and what are they not doing. Because you look at the health industry, there is so much information out there. You can't not know what to do. And it is really simple when you... and I flippantly say it's really simple, but it's not, because even I have my challenges and, I spend my world in this stuff. But eat well, eat half your plate of greens, a little bit of carbs, a little bit of fats, a little bit of proteins, and exercise regularly, 30 minutes minimum a day. Get a bit of a sweat on, and make sure that you're sleeping and hydrating yourself, and make sure that your social environment and your living environment is really good. Those are the components of health.
Does your role with Southern Cross give you an advantage in that way with the information that passes your desk?
We're a health society, so we do have that information to hand. We're constantly looking at what trends are on health. We're a health conscious organization. We really fundamentally care about the well-being of New Zealanders. And I can honestly say that we have such an incredible values-based organization. And so, yeah, I think that influences my ability to speak to that because I do get exposed to it as part of my world.
Yeah. Just back to what you were saying, because people do know what they should be doing, right? There's no excuse for not having the information there or the education in terms of health and well-being. I mean, I tend to think that we have access to so much information that it's always there. But the real challenge is creating the habits and the lifestyle and people actually doing the action behind it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I think inherently people do know what's right for them, but they have some sort of block in terms of
I think
what it might be. It might be relationships, it might be health, it might be finance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you've said something there, what's right for them. I think a lot of people don't necessarily know what's right for them. I think we're heavily influenced by society. We're heavily influenced by the media. We're bombarded from the moment we get up in the morning and pick up our cell phone to the moment we go to bed at night and put that cell phone down. We are bombarded with messages about
what we should be doing
exactly.
to be happy, what other people do to be happy. And it's such a false reality of events.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't take into account all the struggles in between, all the behind the scenes stuff that needs to play out.
Correct.
You know, I was going to bring this up later, but we're used to seeing people successful, but not knowing how to actually get there and the steps that they've taken and
the hard work.
The hard work, yeah.
I mean, you think about it. I mean, we think of it as like, oh, it's so simple. We should just do these things, which I said some of the things earlier, but it's really not because, first of all, it comes down to your own mindset and and again, it comes to your relationship. What do you believe about food? How were you brought up?
Yeah.
If you have a clear your plate mentality as a kid, because that's what the mentality was, is you have to clear your plate before you're allowed dessert. Now you have dessert if you ever grew up in a family where you had dessert after dinner, there's ingrained habits. If you had sugary food cereals, I'm not a nutritionist, but there's these ingrained habits that we form from a really young age. We don't even know we're doing it. And then we get all these messages from either our parents, the society about what we should and what we shouldn't be. So we get bombarded with all of that. And so if you're someone who's interested in sport, then you'll naturally gravitate towards what you enjoy. And so if you are someone who's interested in sport, you enjoy sport, you're naturally going to gravitate that way, and your habits will all be built around that. So activity might be quite easy for you, but maybe your relationship with food was different. So maybe you're more challenged with food, or
I can relate to that. I remember as a child, you had to finish your plate. And I remember my father saying that there was this Scottish guy on a Pink Floyd song, and you can hear him going, If you don't clear your plate, you can't have any pudding, or something along those lines.
Yeah,
and it's funny how it has an effect on you. You have to finish the plate in front of you. It's very hard to break that kind of programming until you realize, I can just put this in the fridge. I can eat this another time.
Yeah,
that forced me to be full all the time, and I didn't want that feeling. But I got used to it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's complex.
Mel, I think we touched on this previously about in our formative years we develop the programming or the habits, right? Up to about 7, is that correct?
Yeah.
And so it's almost like, I guess in our modern days, a download into a computer or a smartphone of a program that's running there automatically, and we've just so accustomed to that program, and that's formulated our belief system and our how do we break out of that? Is that something that we break out because we're naturally curious, or because, do you know what I'm getting at? How in the
totally.
And then we develop those habits, and they sort of carry on and carry on and carry on, and they call it like an unconscious program as well, that it's sort of lying there and you don't know why you're always overeating or doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
It's kind of like interrupting that program, right?
I found it. If you don't eat your meat, you can't have any pudding. It's from Pink Floyd, The Wall, Part 2. Just saying.
I love that. I'm actually going to YouTube that later.
Yeah.
I'm going to compare your voice to the original and see
I would play it right now if it wasn't if we didn't get pulled from the podcast.
So to go back to your question, you were asking around, we've got these habits and these traits, and you grow up and some of them, they're pretty hardwired up to a certain point. How do we break them? So first of all, there's awareness. There's that old cliche, you need to know that you're doing it, or you need to know that something's not quite right. Then yes, curiosity, what's going on for me? What's happening here? What have I tried? What have I not tried? And then being brave enough, and I think it is a bravery thing, to try something different and stick with it. So people try things different, and I am a culprit for this one. I'll try something different. I'll go, I'm going to try this. And the first time it doesn't work, it doesn't get the result I want. So I go, that didn't work. Yeah. Move on. Right? So it's actually trying something different and recognizing that actually by just trying something different, you're already taking new steps. You're already changing a habit by just trying something different in the first instance, because you're thinking different thoughts. And so...
But that neuroplasticity takes a couple of weeks to fully form.
Correct.
Right? Yeah.
So you've got to be consistent. And it's going to be challenging. It's going to be hard in the first instance, because you're going to, do you trust yourself that you actually do know what the right course of action is? Are you curious enough to actually look at it and go, what's working for me, and critically assess it? And then do I have the staying power, because I might not succeed right away? And so do I pick myself back up, metaphorically speaking, and say, okay, I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep going. It's the same as running a project. It's the same as trying anything new. You've got to keep trying it until you're absolutely, actually, you know what, this is really not working. I've tried multiple ways. And I suppose that's where coaching comes in, is it accelerates that process. To help you to create new habits and new ways of thinking, or new ways of viewing the world. And
we've known this. Humans have known this for a long time. You've got to get back on the horse.
Correct.
Yeah. Get back on the bike.
Yeah.
Get back on the damn thing that threw you off, and keep on going.
Yeah. I mean, so it's having the discipline, and then having the staying power, the persistence and perseverance. Because you're right, it's easy to just give up. I just came up with I don't eat desserts, but I imagine if someone's wanting to cut their calories and realize that the desserts was superfluous to their energy intake, and they were trying to, lose weight, or they were eating the wrong foods, just eliminating maybe that one meal in the day that they go, well, actually the dessert's not serving me.
Yeah.
But if you fall off the wagon 3 days, 4 days in and revert back, then that's sort of an example of as a habit coming back.
Yeah, and also you'd look at that. Say, for instance, the person in front of you is saying, you know what, actually, I've got this relationship with desserts, because, again, it's a relationship. So I have a relationship with desserts. So it might be that actually I get home at the end of the night, and subconsciously, so I have dinner, and subconsciously dessert means something. It means something to me.
It's a treat.
It's pleasure. I get the sensation of pleasure when I have a dessert. Or it's a bit naughty. I know I shouldn't be doing it, but it's it's a bit sexy. It's a bit fun. Whatever.
No, you're right. I always have a sexy dessert. That's my go-to.
I think it's really important.
Yeah,
good.
A bit of sexy dessert there.
What are we talking here? Are we talking like a beautiful?
We might not be talking about the same thing.
Oh. I was thinking, like vanilla ice cream. I was just thinking mud cake and.
I have a relationship with great intentions and poor discipline.
Okay.
Because I know what to do, and then I get started in a couple of days, and then I return to the same other bad habits. Not necessarily on that topic, but outside of that topic. And then that leaves me not enough time to do the thing that I had great intentions for. So an example might be, I'm going to go to the gym every morning at 5.
Okay.
And I know that I've got to go to bed early to do that. In a couple of days, I nail it. And I have a great sleep and I'm really turning my life around. And then come Wednesday, I just watched that Netflix show too late. And now I can't get up early in the morning. And now everything's off.
Okay. All right. So
give me a cheat code.
Yeah. Okay. So would you like me to micro-coach you now? Or would you like me to just tell you what I would be looking at in that situation?
I'd like you to tell me the thing that would give me the most benefit and that most people could relate to.
Okay. So if you were thinking about your scenario, what would you need to do differently, or what would give you the most benefit in that situation?
I can't help but feel that using Wednesday as the day that it broke down, for example, that Wednesday night I stayed up too late watching TV, that's the problem, and that I need to tackle those bad habits so I can continue with the good ones I want to do. But maybe I need to address why it is that I get so much out of staying up watching Netflix, why it is I do that, what it gives me, or why I felt I needed it.
Can I offer something?
Yeah.
Just randomly.
Go for it.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with watching Netflix. Why can't you just program that Wednesday or whatever day? That's fine. And then hit the gym on the Friday or the Saturday and just keep rolling over. Right?
So I'm going to pause you for a second here. So now this is a prime example of the difference between coaching and mentoring. So what I would do is I would then ask you, okay, so knowing that about yourself, what do you think could work?
Far out. Well, because I'm so weak-willed, I'm not sure.
Okay.
I'd go,
but what I'm saying
tired
is
and relaxed. I'm going to go watch that show now.
Don't be so hard on yourself. Just go, hey, I'll go on Friday, and then I'll make sure I'll go on Friday. If I don't make Friday, I'll go on Saturday, and then just keep doing that until you. That's what I do. I don't always go to the gym. You know me, I'm a gym junkie.
You're the fittest man in the room.
But the way I used to have a structure like Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, whatever. But then I go, hang on a minute, if I miss today, I'll go in tomorrow. If I miss tomorrow, I'll go in the next day. It'll roll over. This continuous rollover. I start to freak out if I don't go in after a few days, but then I'll go, well, why aren't I going in? But I trust myself that I will, because I've just programmed that since I was 13.
And that's the difference.
So I try Rob's technique, and I don't succeed with that either.
Okay. So
I'm not saying Rob's got it wrong, because he's clearly got it right for me.
Yeah, I was just trying to offer
Thank you. But that doesn't work for me, and I wish it did.
Okay.
Because it's just, I go, well, I'll go tomorrow, and then 3 weeks later I'll go, still didn't go.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So first of all, so there's multiple paths we could go down here. So first of all, I want to ask you something. When you set the goal of going to the gym six times a week, 5 times a week, what was the goal?
Oh, the goal was a huge 6 times a week.
Huge 6 times a week.
With this, grand idea of split training, and every second day would be cardio, and every other second day would be some sort of weights program, and then a cheat day at the end of it all.
Oh,
that whole thing
sounds perfect.
Doesn't it?
That sounds perfect.
Yeah.
So tell me something. If you know yourself, you know that you've tried this a few times.
I was even successful at it once. But now I think I have approach avoidance.
Okay.
Yeah,
all right.
Because it was painful too.
Okay.
It was hard work, but I looked good.
And that was worth it?
Oh, if I could go back to 2003.
Okay.
Oh, was that the Bill Phillips?
Body for life.
Body for life.
Which I've told many other people on the show that I treated it body for life. Really,
I read the book.
Yeah, you read it?
Yeah, I read the book.
Fine.
Yes, thank you.
So I treated it as body for 3 months because it was a 12-week program.
Okay,
hey,
fantastic.
Can I just pause you there? Body for life.
Yeah. Screw you.
Not body for,
3 months.
Yeah, otherwise you would have titled it
Body for length of 12-week program.
There we go. And I think that's normal. I mean, that's normal for people. So we'll step out of, so there's a couple of things I want to reflect on. So first of all, we would look at where you are now. Is 6 times a week with 1 rest day realistic?
Well, obviously not. I can't seem to.
Okay.
I mean, but I'd like it to be.
Okay, so great. We can potentially build up to that.
Right.
If that's that's the goal that you want. And so when you think about your week, what would be realistic that you think, actually, yep, that's doable? How many times a week do you think that would be?
So are you just saying, so if you're going easier on yourself, what could you achieve?
Yeah.
I could achieve the gym twice a week with no real effort.
Okay. So what are you doing now?
About twice a week, and it's just not enough.
Okay. So you're currently doing about twice a week.
Yeah.
It's not really any effort. So if you were to stretch that, and we just want to put a bit of stretch into that, what would a stretch look like for you?
It would look like 3 or 4.
Okay. So 3 or 4.
Without just killing me.
Okay.
But I know 6 would kill me, but be great.
Oh, absolutely. And
Right,
so
but-
your long-term goal...
I guess I could achieve 3 or 4 more easily.
Okay, so could you do 3 or 4? Which one?
I don't know. I could do 3.
3. Okay.
Very much so, and 4 just... 4,
Okay.
I could do 4.
Okay. So if the... we didn't clarify a goal at the beginning, but...
But 4, we're talking about without me radically changing my mindset and having a diagnosis from a doctor that freaks me out and I have to go do it, right? Just the
Correct.
way I currently think about life now.
Correct.
The way I haven't made it a priority right now.
Yeah.
I could stretch to 3.
Okay. All right. So what would stop you from stretching to 3? Because I'm not a doctor. You've not got a...
What would stop me from stretching to 3?
Yeah, what would stop you from going to 3 a week?
The lack of discipline that I described.
Okay. So
Not programming things in and going, right, got to do this.
Okay.
Just being a bit laissez-faire.
Okay. So what would you need to put in place, knowing that you have, to use your words, lack of discipline, but you've told me that 2 sessions is easy with no real
like 2
effort.
I can it's not no effort, but it's 2 I can get around to and negotiate with all the things I try to pack into my life.
Okay.
With 4 I've got to get really disciplined about, no, you really had to go to bed and you really had to cut other things out, and it's like Greece going through austerity measures. He's
yeah.
like, and so I feel that austerity as lack of light in my life and lack of joy.
Yeah.
I think
okay.
it's also why people eat sweet foods, because it gives the brain a moment
Dopamine.
where I'm not finding that in other areas of my life.
Yeah.
Nothing quite makes me feel as much as something sweet.
Yeah, it's all your...
I love sweet things.
All your feel-good
Yeah.
hormones, your serotonin, your dopamine, your endorphins. There's another one, oxytocin. That's your love hormone.
Life can be hard. Life can be stressful, and I haven't, as yet mastered meditation, so I haven't kind of got the discipline to come home and go, as much as I want to have something sweet, instead I'm going to have a glass of water and just meditate until I've brought balance to the force in my brain. I can just eat something.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because can I just interject? Is that the right word?
Yep. I interject.
As humans, we are programmed for pleasure. We naturally chase pleasure, right? If we have an easy
Yes.
route, we'll
Yeah.
take that. I think that's just hardwired in us.
Yeah,
and there's
we
so
wanna
much temptation.
I mean, it makes sense. We want to
Yeah.
do things
Yeah.
that make us feel good, and we don't
Yeah.
want to do things that make us
Yeah.
feel bad.
Which but we always
I assume this is why people find it hard to give up smoking.
yeah.
feel good.
Well, I mean,
we're
also
pleasure-
I've never
nicotine.
smoked.
Yeah.
Nicotine's pretty addictive as well.
Yeah, true. But,
So,
sugar.
It's a drug. Sugar's addictive as well.
So it's that whole pain pleasure. We want to avoid as much pain in life. We steer clear of that. So anything that's going to sort of cause us pain, we kind of we'll avoid that and we'll steer towards. And I'm just trying to think of a really good analogy, but yeah, I think we're always in that dimension of pain and pleasure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
in aspects of our life.
I could swap it out with something
Okay.
else. I could go for a Thai massage down the road, but they're $85,
Expensive.
and
Yeah.
that's a very expensive Mars bar.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
So if you're thinking about it, you're like, okay, well, I could do a 3rd week, but I don't have any discipline. If you were to tell yourself that you did have discipline, what would look different?
The extra kgs in my body wouldn't be there. I would look different.
Okay.
I would look different
Can I ask you what?
because I also buy that it's all in the head.
You must have some discipline
I must
in
have
your
some.
life now,
Yeah.
not necessarily related to the gym, but there must be disciplines that you have.
Well, I breathe regularly. I go to the toilet without fail. There's no trouble with that.
What?
Yeah, no,
By yourself?
It's regular. That's what I'm trying to say.
Well, with work, that's a discipline about achieving goals and doing the work.
No, but you see, for example, I am not necessarily good at wrapping work between 9 till 5.
Okay.
I was thinking about an email last night, and I sat there on my phone composing it with my 2 thumbs slowly, and took great joy in doing it at 2 a.m.
Okay.
Doesn't bother me.
Okay.
My brain comes alive.
Yeah.
And I have great things to say.
You need to be, what do they call it?
Asleep.
No.
Well, there's that too.
No, what's like the midnight till dawn radio show,
With Mel Fabregas.
Gosh.
Because you'll be up,
Yeah,
you'll be
it would
awake.
be. Yeah, that's right.
So, I mean, that's another point is, anyway, so if we were having a coaching conversation about it, we'd explore all of this basically. And,
Right.
we'd hopefully come to a point where you can go, yeah, okay, we've got a strategy and a plan and you move forward with your goal of now going 3 times a week because that sounds more realistic.
Doable, right?
Sounds doable.
And then the next step is more doable.
And then next step, see how you go.
With 4.
Yeah.
'Cause
And
then
you set the
it's just
time
one more.
frame. You set the time frame. You try it. You try small. And I think that's what we do as humans. We tend to go,
baby steps.
I've got to do
All or nothing.
all or nothing.
Yeah.
I'm all or nothing.
Yeah.
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 That's me.
Yeah. And a lot of people are. And actually, there's self-compassion that needs
Which
to
is why I'm mostly nothing, by the way. It's because it's or nothing. So give it a go.
good times.
But I'll tell you, three gym visits is great. It's perfect. It's kind of minimum because it's what you do there as well. Don't get too caught up on having to go 4 times. If you kick ass in 3 sessions, like it's the intensity in what you do there, then,
Okay, so I need to ask a mentor-based question based on expertise because Rob knows the problems of that issue well.
Yeah.
Rob, in your mid-40s, if you're going to go to the gym 3 times a week, would you be better off lifting weights or doing 1-hour-long cardio sessions?
I think getting back to what we touched on earlier, different strokes for different folks. Everyone is different.
Assuming I'm healthy and there's nothing to rehab.
Well, you want to do a combination of both, but you want to do a combination of heavy weights, light weights, like high reps, low reps. So you're getting the strength, endurance, and cardio. So you're filtering and chopping and changing. And as you get older as well, more functional stuff. So they don't get tied into the whole, body weight exercise, doing stuff outdoors, just getting the body moving.
I'm going to go out on a limb and simplify the answer I was hoping you'd say. So this is not what you said. What you said was actually very intelligent. I'm going to say all weights if you live in such a way that you walk for 30 minutes a day because you go 15 minutes to the train and 15 minutes back. And you go, well, you've gotten some cardio every day.
Yep.
So you're going to be doing, a couple of hours of cardio a week anyway out of that.
Yeah.
So you go, the gym is the place where I don't have weights at home, so I do that there. But I can walk anywhere.
True.
There we go.
I don't walk to the train. I have a car.
I was about to say, did you just solve your own problem?
and you know where the studio is. There's the train. It's like a 30-second walk away.
Close.
So close.
I think also...
Yeah.
I was actually just thinking, I was just thinking about that. I was like, but the train station is right there. So
I know.
how is he? Where is he going? That's 15 minutes.
I walk to the next platform. It's 3 kilometers down the road.
You would need to go to the train.
That.
You would need to walk there 15 times there and back.
Yeah, because look, I'm
to
not...
make up for it.
Yeah.
But you've got to think of your end goal. Like, what's the
Raise Ahab, Atacama Desert.
No, like what's the benefit, right? Like you've got to have the goal that's going to pull you in and go, that's what I want. I want that so badly.
Yes, well, this is why
what it's
a
gonna
white
do.
coat,
So it keeps you on track.
diagnosis helps people, right?
Well, that's more fear-induced.
Yeah. Well, like I've said it before, sticks and
But I
stones.
don't even think
Carrot and
if
stick.
you're very clear on why and you visualize, and it's so, like when I was first starting training, I was so obsessed with it. I would voraciously read everything I possibly could and learn. I would not go out to parties or do anything. That's how disciplined I was. I
Yeah.
was the.
And
I'm going to do this.
what was your vision? What was driving that behavior?
Well, you see it before you, ladies and gentlemen.
No, I'll tell you.
Oh, no, that's the outcome.
This is the truth.
The outcome.
Is that
I-
not also
This
the
is
vision?
not the vision.
This is the truth. I created. I was looking for self-worth and self-love, and I was modeling my whole. When I was a teenager, I was modeling myself on Jean-Claude Van Damme, kickboxer. That changed my life. I saw this guy.
He's phenomenal.
Action
Yeah,
hero,
yeah.
and I looked at his body, and I thought, and he was a skinny guy from Belgium. My parents are Dutch. He had the Dutch last name. I thought, that's my guy. You know, and I had
That's my guy.
I had no mentor really, and so I created this
Yeah.
image of what I wanted to be, how I wanted to become, and that
That drove
it
your
was
behavior.
literally, I had the kickboxer poster. I said, whatever it takes to get to that, and I'll do it. And then I'll never forget, in my early 20s, after taking the path of being a fitness trainer, personal trainer, I was at Les Mills, and this amazing moment where there was Maximum Risk was the new movie out.
Yep.
And we were promoting the film. We had all the posters and stuff. I was wearing the Maximum Risk T-shirt, and I thought I'd made it.
And that's a JC.
Yeah.
John-
And I thought, wow, you
JCVD.
visualize, you dream, and
Yeah.
it becomes a reality. And it wasn't so much that I wanted to be like him. I needed to find those aspects of me and bring the best out of me. But I was living. I was going, this is what it's like.
And how was
And
that
then I got
for
into
you?
film and TV and stuff as well. But it was just creating. Like everyone's got like this palette, and you can create whatever you want. Like, what do I want to be? You got
And
a blank canvas, and it's got to. Never forget him saying you got to have the dream, but you've got to have a passion to really, really, really make it, and no matter what. But like the Arnold Schwarzenegger story, where you don't have a plan B. It's true. I mean, you're so convicted in what you want to do, but it's got to, you're not going to last if it doesn't mean anything to it. If you're not doing it for,
And I think that's, ultimately.
So that was my little.
No, and it totally makes sense, and it's sort of a really valid point. Is the fact that there's a lot of people who, that don't have that, and that actually a lot of people that come to see a coach is to find out, well, what is it?
What really?
I mean, I'll use myself as an example. So, for instance, I train with Marwin. He's my PT. Now, I know that exercise is not something that I enjoy it once I'm in there, and I love the feeling afterwards, but I can come up with every excuse under the sun to not even get in. And so having a PT is accountability for me. So I know that I am meeting someone and that they are holding me accountable. And my internal driver, that means that is very important. That is aligned to my values. So I am always on time for everything, if not 5 minutes early. That's aligned to my values. And so I make decisions. We all do. We have an innate set of values that drive our behavior. And so an assessment of your values, what is actually important to you, because you're living them already. You're just not maybe consciously aware that your values are driving your behavior. And so then you overlay that with your belief system. So what do you believe? And what are the beliefs that have been imposed on you from others? And what are your actual own beliefs? So then you overlay that on top. So, for instance, I would say to someone, no, I really value being healthy, but that doesn't necessarily mean I value going to the gym and exercising. I know logically I need to go to the gym and exercise because, to be perfectly frank, it used to be because I wanted to attract a partner. That I knew that in society I needed to be attractive to others. And so the driver behind going to the gym for me wasn't that I innately believed in being healthy. It wasn't that it was in alignment with the gym is an enjoyable experience for me. It was an outcome.
Yeah.
And so I would stumble and fall. And I wouldn't go to the gym because it wasn't enough of a driver for me, because I was basing the...
I can so relate to all of this.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I'm basing my drive or actions or sense of self-worth or value on a subjective opinion of someone else out in the public that I haven't even met yet. Just
on that last thing that you mentioned there about the reason behind why, right, to attract a partner. Dad would say to me when I was younger, you want to grow up and and get a good job and get great money so that you can buy a nice house and attract the appropriate partner and you just throw that into the sentence and attract the appropriate partner and live a life where you're not poor all the time and he's sharing his values and they're good values and they make sense and he actually really understood people and the why behind the things that we did. But I think whether anyone expresses that to you overtly or whether you sort of pick it up subconsciously, a lot of people are driven by things like that.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And so we're all driven.
Give us a bit of air, Rob, on the door. Thanks, mate.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's getting a bit
That's what the
toasty
sign
in
language
here.
meant.
Oh.
Sorry, Mel, carry on.
No, it's fine.
Yes.
They're both gesturing weirdly right now.
We just did 3 sentences there.
Yeah.
And also concluded a major mathematical problem. Sorry, but what you're saying is very interesting.
I just lost my train of thought now. That was good through me.
Apologies.
No, it's
I
fine.
can totally relate.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like there's a difference between. So you've got to really, really want something for the right reasons, I suppose.
You've got to want them for yourself.
Yeah.
And
it
that's
is.
really
If
hard.
you connect that, I believe you can do anything. You can overcome because it just means so much to you.
Yeah.
And so you almost, there's.
I mean, I'll be honest. I mean, it was effective. I do have a partner here, and one of the challenges I'm having is the fact that I don't have that same drive to attract a partner because I've got a partner. So my habits have changed.
Very common.
And so I've had to be really conscious of that to go, okay, I'm in the honeymoon period of a relationship. I'm going to be more social. I've got to adapt to this person's way of operating, their way of eating, their way of doing things. I don't have as much time. I'm no longer have that right or wrong. You can label it whatever you want, but that's what the driver was to attract a partner. And so now I have to sit back and critically assess and go, okay, I still want to go to the gym. I still want to look after myself because ultimately what I'm feeling now that I know that goal has superseded really is now it's like I don't feel comfortable in myself, and so now my motivator is that I want to be able to get up in the morning and put something on and not stress about is it tight? Is it not tight? What do people think of this?
Honestly, I've gone up several dress sizes.
Oh, I know.
And I'm struggling with it. Yeah. So it all happened very recently too. And I was like, gosh, it can happen quite quickly.
So quickly. It sneaks up on you.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. So, but it's, I try to think to myself, well, then I must make that goal, switch it around. I do this now for my longevity, for my health, and maybe to have my partner stay attracted to me.
Yeah. So that's a really good one, actually. And we get told a lot of the time that, you should think this, you should, whenever the word should comes up, even in our own brains, because, we're chatting to ourselves.
We should all over ourselves?
All over. Oh, my God, I love that.
You were going to say that, right? We should all over ourselves?
I wasn't actually, but I'll claim it if nobody notices.
I said it first.
I'll use it later today.
Fine, use it.
At dinner.
Good.
And claim it. We're so cruel to ourselves, but actually it's okay if the outcome is that it gets you to the gym and it's healthy and it's moving you towards your, what's creating a better life for yourself, then, and this is just me reflecting, so if anyone takes exceptions to this, it's fine. But if the motivation in the back of my brain is I want to go and be fit and healthy so that I can keep my partner, the outcome is that I'm still going to the gym, I'm still fit and healthy, therefore longevity, I'm going to have a healthier life. So again, it's what angle, if it's the outcome you're looking for, what is the outcome you need long term? Well, you ultimately want longevity. You want to be healthy. You want to feel good and be fit. But what's the driver? And everyone's driver underneath, and there's no judgment of that driver. My driver for years was simply, I went to the gym because I wanted to attract a partner.
It's good that you
but
knew that.
I still went to the gym.
Yeah.
I still was fit and healthy. I still did triathlons. I still, so ultimately my driver could be judged, and other people go, oh, but that's not the right reason to go to the gym. Well, it got me there.
No, you're right.
Yeah.
If you look at it as an outcome-based assessment, then that's fine. It's funny though, isn't it? I think everyone would have some way of seeing this or reading it on other people's faces. And, you know, you look at someone else and why they're at the gym or why they do anything, and you can kind of read their mind a bit and go, no, they're doing it for this.
I think as long as
they want to be such and such, you know.
As long as you're comfortable with your own driver and you're doing it, like screw what everyone else is really doing. Just
own it.
Just own it.
Yeah.
And someone can say, "Oh, that's real superfluous, and you got to do it for the right reasons." But it's the right one for you. And as you say, if it gets you to that outcome, then
and I think
it's perfectly legitimate too.
I'm just trying to get
we don't want to get into judging into why someone does anything.
No.
Yeah.
And I think that goes back to earlier in the conversation we were talking about, you know, goals and living your life, and you know, we're conform based animals. We are in packs. We don't want to be ostracized. We don't want to be, you know, kicked out of the
everyone
pack.
wants to be liked.
Totally. And so anything to do with your life, I think it is, what is the right thing for me in my situation with my belief systems and my individuality. And then, because we get so much advice from other people. And so seeing a coach or going to talk to someone who's not there to give you advice is really liberating for people, because they can actually hear their own consciousness, and it's there. You know, we've all got the answers. We just sometimes need to be helped along the way.
Yeah, because there will be people out there that, I don't know, maybe are people pleasers or they lack confidence, and so they're always getting advice from someone and not ever honouring their own voice and feeling, no, this is what I want to do, and they're always maybe trying to please because that's the way they've been programmed to get love or to be appreciated.
So that is the biggest theme of this podcast, as it began at least.
Yes.
Which was, why do we do the things we do?
Yeah.
And why don't we examine the reasons behind that? Because more often than not, we accept those as default things that no longer need re-examination, and we just react in certain ways when people say certain things. We always respond to certain kinds of events in certain ways. We don't have to. And
there's often a catalyst. You know, it's usually something external to us that happens that changes our life. So, you know, I used an example of someone who's re-entering the dating world after a divorce. Now, they went into marriage thinking this was it. This is my marriage. And they've come out the other end and they're gone, well, you know, for whatever reason, it's not worked. And so all of the emotional side, there's unraveling all of that. There's, the grief process that you go through all of that. You know, again, I'm not a counsellor, so that's more of a counselling space. But if I was working with a client who's going through that, you know, they're coming to me for a specific reason. And it's usually, okay, I've been single now, I've worked on myself for a few years, I've learned all these things about my marriage, I don't want to do that again, so what can I be doing? What are my new strategies? Or I've never done Tinder, I'm not in the dating world, how do you even do it anymore? I need some help on that. Or it could be, you know, anything related to, there's usually some form of something happens and people go, oh, I need to do something different. And so otherwise, we do. We just create the same behaviors over and over and over again.
Yeah.
People want easy fixes. People want easy fixes
they do.
too.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
What's someone looking for an easy fix that you steer them away from?
Jumping on Tinder.
Before working
Tinder
on yourself.
Is
well, you know, I mean,
it's a tool. I mean, Tinder.
It is a tool.
Tinder gets a bit of a bad rap. I mean, it's got some reputational challenges, but I mean, ultimately, break it down. What is it? It is an app on your phone that connects you to other people.
Social accelerator. Cuts out all the crap. You just want to connect.
Yeah. And so, but then
do what you want to do.
There's some interesting behavior that comes out of that. Is
and do what you want to do. Well, yeah, because everyone, like, you know, but but it doesn't. replace face-to-face
But that's
sitting down,
it doesn't. But
body language, reading all the different levels of community. Yeah, because it's just it's kind of.
Well, it's transactional, isn't it? It's like shopping for
just
a partner.
going, nah,
but you've only got a limited
yeah.
amount of information, and you're.
Yeah.
But I mean,
Seems to me like arranged marriages. Limited amount of information, but you know. You
check out
gotta
our.
but the difference
marriage
is,
podcast.
so
That's right.
arranged marriages is generally the parents
Yeah.
have vetted them beforehand.
Oh, did you listen to our podcast about that?
I didn't know.
With comedian Edamon. Yeah. Just a few episodes ago, actually.
Oh, I should definitely listen to that.
Yeah, thanks for listening to the show before you came on.
Oh, my pleasure. I listened to the first 4.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Hang on, we were delving into the world of Tinder.
Oh, sorry, mate.
yeah.
No,
Getting off track here a little bit.
Get back onto your track.
So, what's really interesting with Tinder? So I do have I've just finished with a client who, and this is why I'm using this example, that this was the world that they wanted to venture into.
Right. And they, by the sound of things, if it's the same person, had been in a marriage.
Yes.
Okay. And this is going to be a common scenario for a lot of people.
Yes.
Yeah.
So had been in marriage before. They had never previously done any sort of self-development or self-reflection. And so came out of the marriage, and that's the space they're in now. So they've been out of the marriage for about a year, which is still subject
Fresh.
to it's still I mean, it depends depends on the circumstances of the marriage. But and this person essentially was wanting to venture into dating, but they weren't feeling confident about it. They wanted to get out there. And so we did some work with really clarifying, first of all, the reason, what are they wanting to get from it? What's the need that they are getting from dating? And it's the usual this I'm not sharing what we actually discussed, but I mean, this is some stuff. I want connection, I want companionship, I want intimacy. This person didn't just want the ego stroked. No, they didn't.
To get that acknowledgement of hey, I'm still attractive to the opposite sex or whatever.
Probably excuse me, there's probably
some element of that.
I mean, who doesn't like to be appreciated by
I think that's one of the things that even when you're in a relationship, that could be another easily to judge but useful driver to get to the gym. I still want to be attractive to people.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean,
life's easier. I'm sure. I mean, I wouldn't know, but life's easier. I think if people look at you and they go, "That's an attractive-looking person," I'll talk to them.
I think it's it's also complicated.
But we all want to feel acknowledged, appreciated
Definitely.
for whatever. But we live in a physical environment where we do, and we've touched on this. And the media, it just gets perpetuated, and rammed, down our throats because they want to sell, and you want to. In order to be successful, got to look a certain way, and you've got to, if you have this product, then you'll achieve that. It's all very aspirational, which is nothing wrong with that. But
nothing wrong with that.
I'm
I'd
not
like to take
having
this moment to say Reality Hub is brought to you by Liposuction Industries in Newmarket.
No, it's not.
Where you can really get those love handles removed.
But great advertorial.
But if you are out there, we do take money.
But I'm sort of deconstructing it and don't buy into the kind of illusion of it.
But it's really...
But we live in a consumeristic world, and I totally get it. And there's nothing wrong with it. And as long as you see it for what it is. And
I think it's just... curiosity about the world around you, curiosity about yourself, and why do I do what I do, and just educating yourself. For instance, we talked about attachment styles.
Can we talk about that?
You can. We all have a attachment style.
And this is different from a love language, right?
Yeah, so love language is awesome. Dr. Gary Chapman is the author of the 5 love languages. So if you are in a relationship, or if you are
I've read that book. Is it?
It's so good.
You'll find it in our show notes.
I did read that book, but I don't recognise the author. What was the
Dr. Gary Chapman.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Dr. Gary Chapman.
It actually is just helpful in friendships, in any relationship with another human. It's really helpful. So 5 love languages. So words of affirmation. I'm a massive words of affirmation. Give me compliments. Tell me but you have to be quite specific. You have to be like,
right.
I really appreciated that because you did this. It's not just like, you're awesome. I mean, that fills me up a little bit. But if you're like really specific about what it is that I did, it showed me that you've paid attention to me,
right.
and that you're actually fully present to who I am, and so that fills me up. I get that oxytocin hit. I feel all warm towards someone. But if you high five me or tell me I'm awesome, I've
already done that.
Yeah, so that's great.
Didn't work or did
really
work?
Connected.
Did you?
No, I did.
Because I wanted to say I really
"Oh."
appreciate your earrings. They're particularly fluffy, and they have
fantastic.
a certain authenticity to what you say.
Is that a words of affirmation, or is that because that's not something you? I mean, I'm sure you made the choice to wear them, but it's not something you necessarily. No, I'm trying to deconstruct.
No, I love it. Go with my
totally,
example.
Totally.
Yeah. But if you performed an action like you took out the garbage or something.
Oh no! So
does it
let's
still
use
work?
the earrings. So I've chosen the earrings. I've chosen to wear them. So by getting a compliment saying, "Hey, actually, those earrings look fantastic," I go, "Oh, thanks," because innately I know that I chose them. I put them on, and you feel good.
Yeah.
So
what, these earrings? I just threw them on.
These old things. They're in the back of the cupboard. No, I matched them with my shoes and my nails. And so...
Jesus, you did.
You did, yeah.
I mean, I noticed. And then it's really good.
From the moment you
Yeah.
Absolutely.
No, guys like us notice that kind of thing. Yeah.
So words of quality time. Quality times is quite a popular one. So that's... we're spending time together, but it's not just sitting on the couch watching Netflix. It's actually that we're enjoying
Hey. Okay, yeah. I hear you.
Unless it's The Witcher, of course. Just shout out to The Witcher.
Yeah,
I
that's
love
right.
The Witcher.
Isn't it great?
I thoroughly
Hey, Mel, you know this is an
consumed that in,
explicit podcast. You can swear if you want, right?
What does he do?
He says there's a thing on YouTube, and you can watch a collection of every time he said fuck.
Really?
He meets a ghoul or has a problem or is about to get started with a fight, and he goes, "Oh fuck," and it's like a collection of "Oh fuck." It's
apparently,
it's brilliant.
Here's my little geek moment. Apparently, Henry Cavill, they had thousands audition for Geralt for that character, but they chose Henry Cavill, the producer or whoever was in charge of the final decision, because of his voice.
Really?
Which I find a little bit interesting because
That's not what I would choose him for.
But apparently was the
I won't lie, the man in leather pants was rather
he's Superman, right?
Intriguing.
But I thought that's interesting. So but you got to have the full package to fulfill that role.
It's a fantastic story.
And
I'm not one for video games, but that was it was built out of the fantasy video game, and then they created
collection of books. Originally.
Oh no! Well, then I suppose it was built out of the books, then, wasn't it? Because the video game became popular first, even though the books came before the video game.
Yeah.
Well, I just want Series 2 to hurry up.
Yeah,
because I really enjoyed it. It was on.
You want to see those leather spandex panties? Hang on, he doesn't wear those.
I was about to say,
whatever it is that he wears.
Which episode was that? Can we go back and check it out?
Well, it was one Wednesday night I was watching.
Alone with your. Don't want to go there.
Okay, so where
All
were
right,
we?
moving on.
Your
quality
earrings.
time.
Yeah. Quality time.
Words of affirmation, quality time, acts of service. So that's the one where you take the bin out.
Right.
Of
course, yeah.
You bring me a cup
service.
of tea.
Yeah.
So acts of service, physical touch.
That's right.
And gifts.
And
that's
now
an
gifts
expensive one. You can't do that one.
No, so this is what I'm going to say. Doesn't have to be expensive. It just is, I thought of you. I mean, some people do like an expensive gift, but it's more, I've been somewhere and there was, I don't know, our first date was at a koala sanctuary, and 5 years later I went somewhere and there were these cute little koalas, so I picked them up and I bought them and I put a little card with it and I gave you the koalas. if you're
Right.
a gifts person.
Yeah.
Right.
How cute is that?
I
I mean, it's
I guess that means that the love language for cats and dogs is gifts.
What?
they do like to bring little treats in, usually of
This
the dead
mouse-
variety.
This mouse is for you, sir, and I
Yes.
love you for feeding me.
Yes.
Plonk. Oh,
Here.
Jesus, Snuffums, get it out.
What made you think of cats and dogs?
Well, because it's a gift. They bring you a little mouse and go,
yeah.
ta-da, I present you with mouse. and dogs do it too. But I think often what they want you to do with that gift is throw it so they can bring it back again.
I love it.
Yeah.
Right.
Am I right?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
I'll use that.
Of course you will.
So knowing your love language
really important.
is very important because
Yeah,
if you're
because that's how you-
clueless with that, then you could be offering your partner gifts, and they're going, I don't like gifts. Like, I wish I would just spend some quality time with me and come out
So,
and-
and
You're not on the same page, right?
yeah.
exactly, the old, you don't ever tell me you love me, but I love you. I show you I love you. No,
Yeah,
but you never tell me you love me. I
sure.
don't feel loved by you. But I show you. How do you show me? Well, I take out the bins. I put petrol in your car. I cleaned your car. Whatever it is.
Right.
And you're just like, well, that's not my love language. So that's not how I feel love. And it's,
Yeah.
and sometimes how you give love and how you receive love can be different. Just to complicate it.
Yeah.
And so,
Oh, wow.
in a work context, so we use those at work, but we call them the appreciation languages.
Sure.
So how do you appreciate each other? It's basically showing that, hey, I am going to appreciate you in the way that you want to be appreciated. I'm not going to appreciate you in the way that I think you should be appreciated. And
I can
that's
see why it would
often-
be problematic calling that love language at
Yes.
Southern Cross Health Society. I can see that.
in any corporate environment. I feel
Oh,
like
what?
it's
Oh,
in any
note
corporate
to self.
environment,
Yeah.
not appropriate.
Okay. So what's a good example of an appreciation given that isn't received in the same way?
So I'll go for
Oh, no. I had a moment of example, but I actually don't.
Okay.
It doesn't work.
I'm going to retract that.
He's drawing a blank.
Okay, so
Yeah.
I'll use myself as an example. So I am very words orientated. So I love to tell people that they're awesome. I am very much like that. But actually, the way that I show appreciation is that I will do things for people, and I also give a little gift. So I leave little post-it notes on people's computer screens with no sign-off,
nice.
just saying, you're pretty cool today. But it's still words of affirmation,
Yeah.
but it's also a gift. And you can
But
have
everyone's come to know your handwriting, right?
yeah, pretty much. Everyone knows it's me. I think I'm the only person that leaves little secret post-it notes saying.
Yeah.
And I apologize to anyone at work who is listening to this and is like, I've never received a post-it note from you. Do you not love me? I'm just
But they might have a
offended.
different appreciation
Totally,
language, right?
and I'm
Yeah.
probably showing it in that way.
Yeah.
But no, we're a combination
Yeah,
of
of
all
course.
5.
Yeah.
It's not like we're
Yeah.
just one, but we sort of lean towards
We're-
and have a sort of a more
yeah,
dominant one.
Dominant, yeah. Maybe there's a dominant 1 or 2 or 3,
Yeah.
right? But
And so I drive my partner nuts. He's not a words person at all. He's a sort of stoic Afrikaans, South
Ja, ja.
African. Yes.
Afrikaans, yeah.
Yes. Not quite like that, but yes. And so
Ja,
I drive him nuts because I'm like, tell me what you love about me. And it sounds really needy.
Yeah,
It does. It
Yeah.
comes across as needy, and I know that. But he understands that for me to feel loved, and I do feel loved by him, but I need the words as well. It's really important to me. And so we have talked about that in our relationship.
So are you two opposites?
Yes.
Because opposites attract, right? Often.
They often attract. We're not opposites. We're definitely complementary
Well,
of each
this is where
other.
I'm probably confusing attachment styles.
Yes.
Where opposites often attract.
Yes, no. So
Right.
he's
But you're going to come
not-
to that later.
I'm going to come to that. Yeah, attachment styles is also something really worth knowing. But yeah, I mean, that example is he is quality time and acts of service. So I'm words of affirmation. And so for me, I shower him with words all of the time, but it makes him feel good, but it's not his primary love
predominant.
language.
Yeah.
And so by me doing nice things for him, you can see him light up. when I do something really nice.
So he's a
for
very
him.
practical guy.
Yes.
So rather than showering him with words,
Yes.
shower him with water.
Correct. There we go. Just hose him down.
Just hose him down a bit.
Just hose him down.
Particularly-
Give him a clean. I do like to be clean. Thank you, honey.
There we go.
Yeah, I do like to be clean.
Particularly
They're
Yeah.
closer.
All right. Yeah. What's his name?
Francois.
Hello, Francois.
Hey, Francois.
Thanks for listening.
Yeah.
And to the lonely Southern Cross Health Society member who's not received a note, your time will come.
So it's really important.
I was just thinking that whole love language thing. Is that something when you first, say, connect with someone, is that something you would figure out straight away or something you would develop? Would that be like an attractor where you say, meet someone and go, wow, they just feel attracted to this person because they know my love language instinctively?
Yeah, I think
Is it possible? That's possible.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. I mean, if I
Even if you weren't even if you were unaware of love languages, something
oh,
about this person.
definitely. Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think so because, I mean, it's such a need. It's an innate need within us. And it's really interesting because people go, but it's a bit needy to ask for, what I get filled up with love with. And I'm like, no, it's not. If it's going to make your relationship better and it's going to make you feel better, then ask for it.
Well, that's probably something about you that's very pragmatic.
Yeah.
Which I feel is and if people haven't guessed, Mel has a South African background herself.
Correct.
I feel that culturally, talking to my South African friends at work, that they're very pragmatic people.
Yes.
In fact, I was chatting to one of them who told me in a previous company he worked for, which was a French company, the South African branch of that company would sit down and go, all right, okay, what are we going to do here? Okay, let's how are we going to get from A to B? All right, we've got to get some words around the table. Okay, this is good. Thank you, Francois. Thank you. And they would put it all in and create notes, an action plan. They go, all right, let's go do it. And then and get it done. And then the French global company would go, no. This is shooting from the hip. We need to think about this a little bit more. In fact, what you're saying is a bit rude. Maybe we should calm down a little and talk some more.
Yeah.
and they were like, and they got frustrated by it because they were very pragmatic doer people, which I suppose is Dutch.
Yes.
And it's a Dutch explorer mentality who would have the guts to travel to an entirely new continent.
Let's just get shizzle done.
Get shizzle done.
Yeah.
We're going to build those dikes no matter what.
That's right, yes.
No, absolutely. And
Oh, that's good, Rob. Oh. You don't use your Dutch accent enough,
No,
mate.
I don't.
No.
Yeah, because
I really think you should do an entire episode with it. It'd be fantastic.
He has spent hours talking to me, and I was like, God, I wished I'd recorded that. Yeah. Sometimes I call Rob and he answers as a Dutch man.
I love it.
yeah, well,
I love
half
it.
Dutch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you just do a whole episode just like that, please?
It's probably better than our other ones.
Well, I
Bikram
can
and
speak
Deepak.
Dutch as well, so I kan Nederlands praten.
Oh, yeah.
So, mooie dag
That's
vandaag. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ja, ja.
Sta-
My
Afrikaans?
My
Een
Afrikaans
beetje, yeah.
is awful.
Okay.
It's awful. I was in South Africa till I was 11 and then moved to the UK, did all my education in the UK, moved back to South Africa when I was 21, got a job in the northern Transvaal in a place called Naboomspruit near Potgietersrus. As a
Just the way you say it.
yeah.
Goodness
And
me.
so I was on this 5-star, beautiful game reserve, stunning, and I was working on reception. And I got promoted to head of housekeeping and didn't really speak Afrikaans at all, but I had a rapid learning session.
Yeah.
Because unfortunately my staff wouldn't speak to me in
Unless
English.
They refused to.
They refused to speak to me. And so I had to learn. And yeah. But here's this little sort of English girl with this lovely English accent popping up over to South Africa and get this amazing job, great opportunity. And I'm like, and rapid fire learning right here.
Yeah, well, they say being absorbed in a culture is the best way to learn a language.
Best. So I can understand it, but it's possibly a lack of confidence and just that my brain, it takes me so long to process what I'm trying to convert, what word I'm looking for, that people move on. And so I use it where I can, but not often.
So, attachment styles.
Yes, we finally got there. Attachment styles. So, really, really great book called Attached by Amir Levine that is fantastic and explores what attachment styles are. So, we have a way that we attach to other people. And so, there's 3 attachment styles. So, an anxious, a secure, and an avoidant. And so anxious attachment style is that's fairly self-explanatory. You're maybe a little bit more inclined to need more contact from the person. You may be perceived as being needy, although you're not. You're just wanting to get your needs met in a different way. You are more worried about the relationship, or it might consume your thinking a little bit more, and that's just to do with how you were brought up and a variety of things that can influence your attachment style. And again, I'm not a therapist, so don't ask me for all of the detail behind that. And this book goes into it. It's really fantastic.
And what did you think of this book?
Your Brain on Love.
Yeah.
Great. Great audio book.
Have I brought up the right one? Stan
Yes.
Tatkin?
Stan Tatkin, really good. He talks about the similar theories, but he just explains it in a way that's just really digestible. So if anything, I would start with Your Brain on Love, listening to that if you are interested in your attachment style, and then move on to Attached after that. Attached goes into the theory behind it all. It's quite in depth, but again, still an easy read.
All right. And Attached is that
Amir Levine. AmirLevine. There we go, the top one there.
It is that one, Summary and Analysis of Attached. Oh, that's one of those books which they do a summary of it.
Like Cliff Notes.
Yeah, Blinkist does that too. You can.
I love Blinkist.
Is it good?
Yeah, it's really good. I read
I've
so
often
many
felt
book
like I'm going to miss out on stuff, or do you not feel that way after?
I don't. No, I don't. What's really nice, it's almost like seeing the trailer for a book.
Okay.
You know, you can kind of dive in, get an overview of it, and go, actually, this gives me high-level summary of the book. I've got enough information that I feel that I can go, okay, I can understand what that's about. Mm-hmm. Or I've got enough information to go, actually, I want to get this book and deep dive further into all of the detail that sits under it. And so
I might get into Blinkist.
I really enjoy Blinkist, and they'll do that 10-day free trial thing that all of these things do.
That's clever.
I'm sure.
Yeah. You were saying when we caught up, there's an issue in the industry when people don't see a coach that is under a properly governed body.
Yeah, this is
what's the issue there?
A really important one. Essentially, with coaching, it's not regulated. It's particularly not regulated in New Zealand, and so you can go on a one-day course and call yourself a coach. Anyone can call themselves a coach because there's not really any regulation around it. And so I have done my training through the International Coaching Federation. It's 4 full days of training with experts. I've done 100 hours of practical coaching before I can call myself an accredited coach. I've got supervision. I've had supervision, and then I've also had my own coach as well. I need to get continuous professional development to make sure that I'm keeping up my own skills and knowledge, and I now operate under a code of ethics. So that I look at it, and this is my personal opinion again, but I look at it and go, when you come and see a coach, you are sharing the same information that you would share to a counselor. Now, your expectation is different, but a coach that's not operating ethically is getting insight into the inner workings of your mind, and you're putting your trust in this person because you see them as the expert. So I always just say to people, do your due diligence. check where this person's been trained before you go ahead with them. If they offer a complimentary session, make sure to ask them, what's your ethos, what's your ethics, how do you operate, and just sense check it if this is the right path, because you're giving them really personal information, and you're giving them access to your mind.
Okay, look, I'm sorry to ask this, but what is the correct answer to what is your ethos, what are your ethics? What should we be hearing them say?
Yeah, absolutely. So you should be hearing somebody coming back and say, first of all, that they actually have them in place. So someone who has thought about it will be able to say, so my ethics are, I am confidential. All my clients' conversations are confidential. I don't share them outside of our sessions. The only time I would break confidentiality, and I would discuss this with my client directly, is if they are going to harm themselves or harm others. And so there's examples for that. For instance, I operate with coaching frameworks. If I'm not coaching, I will draw attention to the fact that, okay, we may, in a conversation, if I feel like it maybe is moving into a counseling arena and that's not my expertise or my background, then I would draw that attention and say, okay, Steve, we're moving more towards a counseling conversation right now. We pause it and we discuss what's next steps look like. A mentoring, and I would refer them on if I do believe that the client and again, a conversation with my client, because it's a two-way relationship. If they were better served to have a counselor at this point in their lives and coaching isn't quite the right mechanism for them, then I would refer them on to take that route. What's the best route for them right now? And the same with mentoring. If I'm contracting with a client and they say to me, I need practical outcomes and I need practical examples, and this is where I define really clearly, yes, I can share my experiences, my tools, and this is sort of my life strategies and what I've seen work, then I can offer that. But that's an agreement that we have, that it might be a hybrid. And the one thing that I think is really important to me in terms of my personal morals and ethics is that if for any reason that I don't believe that the relationship is the right fit, or that I can't help them to the best ability, or that my skill set isn't going to move this person forward in the way that may need, again, this is a conversation between two people. I'm not just looking at this person and going, oh, I don't think I know better, I think you need to see a counsellor. That's never the case. It's always we come to that conclusion. And so I recently had a client where we came to that conclusion together, where she said to me, actually, you know what, Mel, I think I need to see, this is deeper than coaching. I need to see someone. And she'd booked a 10 package. We were on the third session. And so I refunded her the remaining packages. And I said, that's fantastic. And I genuinely care about my clients. I'm in the very lucky position that I work on referral only. I only see a select number of people, and I do a discovery call at the start of any relationship where I get a sense of them, and am I the right fit for them? Are they in the right space to be doing development? Because we don't want to be wasting each other's time. And I
think that's amazing. Yeah. When you told us about that, I just couldn't believe it. I mean, who does that? That's amazing. It just makes sense to me. Yeah. I'm not driven to do this because of money. Yeah. And that's not saying that I don't need the money. I want to buy a house, and I've got my own personal goals, and I have a coach, and we're working on goals. But the key thing for me was that I genuinely, in line with my values, want to make sure that the people in front of me are getting the best support and the best help, which is why I did ICF training. I didn't have to. It's why I read furiously on all sorts of things. It's why that I've been to therapy and spent time in therapy to work through my stuff, because as a coach, you're bringing your stuff into the room as well. There's unconscious bias. There is judgment. You have to be very, very conscious of yourself to be fully present to another human being. And wherever that human being wants to go, you might not agree with it,
I could say to you, actually, if you use the exercise example earlier on, my first thought outside of a coaching conversation was, well, 6 days a week is unrealistic. And your sleep is more, I would have had all of my own thinking around that from my own experience.
But you don't understand, I have very unrealistic goals.
But you know what I mean?
Yes.
I could have easily jumped in and gone, I could have even actually asked you a leading question in that scenario, which could have been seen as coaching. I could have said, well, do we think 6 is realistic right now? That's a leading question.
6 is realistic. Yeah.
So I'm already leading the conversation. So that's so subtle. So it's even down to the different questions that I have to ask as a coach.
So you would do that, or you wouldn't do that?
I wouldn't do leading questions.
Okay.
Because you've got to
come to
your conclusion yourself, and it's got to be the right thing for you, irrelevant to what I believe is right or wrong, or my own personal opinion on something. That's not what you've contracted with me for. Is I can share examples and I can share stories with your permission, but I'm not here to tell you what to do.
Because there's a subtle very
subtle difference
to that, isn't there? Because if you're just telling someone what to do, then it's not really coming from their own
and it's so subtle,
wisdom or knowledge, or
absolutely. And so it's as simple as, do you think 6 times a week is too much, versus knowing your environment right now, what would you say is a realistic time for you? Or what would you say is a bit of a stretch amount of time for you? Or what would you like to increase to, because your goal is to increase your exercise? You see the difference?
Well, with those questions in mind, I'll talk to my 6-pack and come back to you.
6 is the magic number, is it?
Yeah, well, I mean, I can't reach 8. Oh, you might have, buddy. I don't know. I don't know about that. I once had a 4-pack, I think. It's sort of just almost 2003, I'm telling you. It was a good year.
Body for life, remember?
Yeah, it was a good 3-month program. Well, that's kind of our time, I think.
Cool.
Yeah.
It's been amazing having you on the show. Thank you.
Well,
thank you for popping by.
The time has flown.
Yeah, especially because of the matching,
I know,
earrings
it's
and
the shoes
nails
and the nails
shoes.
and the everything.
Yeah. Just trying to fill you up with that appreciation
words
language.
of affirmation.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Guys,
Thank you.
thanks for listening, as always, and we love that you're there and that you carry on downloading and listening to us. We'll see you next week with the next episode.